He debuted for England in 2009. He was the captain right through until 2017 and for 2015 when they had a disastrous Rugby World Cup campaign. Chris Robshaw, thank you very much for joining us, mate.
Absolute pleasure.
Thoughts and impressions first week up. Who is the best team that you saw on weekend one?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think the best thing about the first weekend is there were some big games, whereas normally you kind of wait 1 or 2 weeks to get into it and then the big games start to come. I thought, look, credit to France to play you guys first up. I mean, I think that was a real show of intent to say, you know what, we want to play the big boys and hit the ground running. And I think their performance, especially after you guys in New Zealand scored after, a minute and a half, which I don't know if that's the quickest try in the World Cup or something like that, but that was, and then their ability to control the ball and come back, and that was brilliant. England looked really dominant considering the 4 warm-up games, and I'm not sure if you guys down there had followed much of them, but we had only won 1 out of 4 warm-up games and not played particularly well, and then went up against an Argentinian side, which, you know, have been a good side in recent times, and made them look terrible, in all honesty. We didn't score a try, which is a thing we still need to work on, but to win that comfortably with 14 men as well. And then you look at South Africa. I mean, to beat Scotland pretty comfortable, and in that pool where everyone said that was going to be kind of a three-way thing, they kind of put Scotland back in their place, I think. So I think, yeah, France, Scotland and England as the big sides really stepping up.
Where are the All Blacks at the moment, do you think? I mean, we're sitting here, as you can imagine, in New Zealand, and much wailing, gnashing of teeth. I mean, we go to these tournaments, we have this idea that we're going to win every single test match we play, but of course it's not like that anymore. And when you get towed at Twickenham like we did, and then the French turn us over like that, there's a lot of worry here.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. It was a really strange one because you guys, from our point of view in the Northern Hemisphere, didn't have the best year last year. And all of a sudden you win the Rugby Championship and everyone's thinking, these guys are back. You know, they're back and they mean business. And then to Twickenham, what seemed like South Africa's second home, to sell out Twickenham and have your biggest defeat. And then you go to France, which was always going to be a tough game, playing France. And, of course, South Africa in the first game. I didn't realise you lose your first World Cup pool game ever.
Yeah, not a great.
And I mean that was some stat in itself. But look, you guys are going to sail out the rest of that pool, get into a quarter-final, and yes, you'll have to play probably a South Africa now, which will be tough in itself.
Chris Robshaw is with us. 66 matches for England between 09 and 18, and you played in the 2015 World Cup. And I'm not being a smarty pants or anything. I'm just bringing that up because you know what it's like to head to a tournament where you have great expectations, especially when you're hosts and everything, and it all goes wrong. How easy is that to happen at a tournament, Chris? Because did it feel for you guys that the water was just dripping through your hands? It was a bizarre group that you had that year.
Yeah, it was. It was one of those ones where the seedings probably went against us, and we worked ourselves into one of these tough pools. And look, I think with a lot of it, potentially the pressure got to us. We blinked at the wrong time, all that kind of stuff. And it was, of course, tough to take. But then you look at the bounce back on that and how people went on to do pretty well, whether that be coaches at various teams or players continuing to excel. And it was definitely one of those really tough times. But to also play in a home World Cup is amazing, as I'm sure you witnessed it in 2011. But you see the pressure is different. And you see the All Blacks who went on to win it, they played a very different way to probably how they played in 2015 when they came up here and won it again.
Do you believe in Steve Borthwick, or would you rather still have Eddie Jones coaching your team?
No, look, I think unfortunately Eddie was brilliant, but I think he probably ran out of time. Unfortunately, things started to go against him. The fans turned on him a little bit, and the crowd did. And as soon as you lose that, it's tough to come back, isn't it? The media started to turn him up here, and when you're winning or when you're not winning, you probably can't get stuck into them as much as you would like when they're giving you a tough time. But no, Steve's come in and look, he's had a tough run. He's had a tough run in his first year. I think he's won something like 3 games out of 8, possibly even less. and it's been really competitive. And for him and a lot of coaches, they always say it's building for this World Cup. And I mean, if ever there's been proof in the pudding, it's that, because the team that turned up on Saturday was like a team we haven't seen in 4 years, or we haven't seen at all under Steve. So defensively, they were brilliant. I thought the senior guys really stepped up. George Ford, Courtney Laws. I felt Ben El was really good, actually. Dan Cole, Jamie George, these type of guys were really commanding. And I think they played the clock well. They played 14-men rugby really well. And you'll know that a lot of teams prepare for stuff like this. You don't prepare to lose something that early, but in training, you always do a lot of what-if scenarios. What if our fly half gets sin bid, and who steps up and plays that role? Who's making the calls? Our hooker's been injured, okay, and we can't bring anyone on, okay, who's throwing the ball for the next two lineouts, and they must win balls. They're putting pressure on the front. And it's all these type of things, these what-if scenarios you prepare in over the last 3 months, so then when you get into these pressured moments, you can really step up. And I thought, to a man, they're brilliant. And look, credit to George Ford, because I think I saw a stat that George Ford has kicked more drop goals in 10 minutes than the All Blacks have kicked in 8 years or something mad like that.
Wow, great stat. Great stat.
So I think, look, it's one of those things which it's definitely not as fashionable as they used to be, but from an England point of view on the weekend, they were so powerful.
I'll give you another stat. In 2019, South Africa lost their opening pool match. That was to the All Blacks. They scored 13 points, went on to win it. Well, on the weekend, the All Blacks lost their first pool match, scored 13 points. Can we go on to win it?
You know what? Before the tournament, I thought that France-New Zealand game was going to be the first game and also going to be the last game. So I still think there might be some history to be written there. And you know what it's like in these things. You need a little bit of luck. You need to play as well. You need to, as we're seeing, stay away from bans, red cards, bans for stuff which is creeping into the game. And you need to be able to monitor that and kind of not manipulate that. Sorry, but yeah, try and minimise that.
Yeah, speaking of that, Tom Curry, it's now downgraded to 2. The confusing thing is, look, we all understand, and I'm sure you do as well, what World Rugby's trying to do is, so they've got class action lawsuits up the wazoo. They're trying to protect the players. We know all of that. But it just seems like almost a hypocrisy. You know, you get Curry, he gets gone, yet Creel gets nothing for his. And, you know, and I just don't, I mean, I know there's wording and gobbledygook, and the lawyers will say, well, this clause and that clause, and the way that, was he standing upright or going into the tackle? But, I mean, we're all, you know, just rugby fans watching it, aren't we? And it's confusing because it doesn't seem consistent.
And that's the biggest thing there. It's consistency, isn't it? It doesn't matter if they're all red cards or they're all yellow cards, whatever it be, but it's got to be the same. And look, I understand from a referee's point of view why he's given it, because referees get told they get a guideline and they referee to that guideline. There's not black and white, because once they get reviewed post-game and they break down each decision and go through the game and stuff, they will get asked and they'll get questioned, did you follow the guideline? Did he follow the protocols of what it was? And unfortunately for Tom, they'll say, well, was he high? Yes. Was it head on head? Yes. Did he have a clear side? Yes. All these kind of things. So you don't have much mitigation there. But in saying that, it's the same in about 4 other examples in various games. And that's the thing which we need to get right, because if not, that's going to have a real hamper on this tournament. And I think a real problem which people are going to have like a bit of a pet peeve about come the end of it.
We thank you so much for your time. Give us a call then. Give us the 4 semi-finalists as opposed to who wins the tournament.
4 semi-finalists. Okay, I'm going to go France. Oh, actually, hang on. Here we go. Let me work it out. So it'd be France v Ireland. I think Ireland will finish second. I don't think they're going to... Oh, God, they've got to go through a quarter-final against each other.
That's right, yeah. Four best teams, or what was supposedly on that side of the draw, yeah.
That's mad, isn't it? Okay, I'm going to say France. I think France will get there, and I think South Africa will get there, actually. So that kind of ruins my prediction. You guys coming back. And in the other side, I'm going to say, England, Australia. Again, and the difference in the 2 semi-finals there is, and the quarterfinals is worlds apart, really. I know all this. England, Wales, and Australia played pretty well, but they are at the moment pretty different to those other sides. But it's like if you can get to that position, you get to that type of game. Pressure's a funny thing. Injuries are funny. The bounce of the ball can go your way. A refereeing decision for or against you, like we've seen. These things can have a big say in the tournament.